All right, today we're tackling something absolutely massive, a once-in-a-generation change to the entire system of work in India. We're talking about a fundamental reboot that's going to impact pretty much everyone, from software engineers to delivery drivers. For decades, this was the number, 29. That's how many central labor laws businesses and workers had to juggle. It was a complex, often contradictory system with roots that stretch all the way back to before independence. But in a truly historic overhaul, that entire tangled web of laws has been completely consolidated into just 4 new, streamlined codes. Okay, so how did we get here and what does this all mean? Let's dive in. So you have to understand, this isn't just a simple spring cleaning of some old laws. No, this is a complete reboot. It's aimed at tackling decades of complexity that was, frankly, holding back both economic growth and worker protections. And this quote just frames the problem perfectly. This regulatory cholesterol, what a great term. It basically clogged up the system, making it really hard for companies to grow. And at the exact same time, it kept millions of workers locked out of formal benefits like retirement funds and health insurance. It was basically a lose-lose situation. And so here they are, the 4 new pillars of the system. Each code is designed to tackle a very specific area: how you get paid, the whole relationship between employers and unions, your social safety net, and of course, the actual conditions you work in every day. Now, let's get to the part that probably matters most to you, the part that's going to directly impact your wallet, your salary. And trust me, this is where things get really, really interesting. It sounds like such a basic question, right? But believe it or not, under the old system, different laws all defined wages differently. It created massive confusion. For the first time ever, these new codes bring in one single uniform definition for everyone. And here's the absolute heart of it, the 50% rule. You see, companies used to be able to keep the basic wage component really low and then pack the rest of your salary with all sorts of allowances. This meant they paid less into your Social Security. Well, not anymore. Now, those allowances are capped at 50% of your total pay. If they go over that, the extra amount automatically gets added back into your base wage. So as you can see here, your total pay is now cleanly split. At least half of it has to be classified as your core wages. And that's the number that really matters, because it's used to calculate all of your key benefits. This is a total game changer for how you save for the future. So what does this mean in practice? Well, it's a trade-off. Because your official wage is now higher, your contribution to your retirement savings, like the Provident Fund, is going to go up. Now, that does mean your monthly take-home pay might be a little lower. But, and this is a big but, your long-term savings and your final gratuity payout, that lump sum you get when you leave your job, are going to be significantly larger. Okay, moving beyond your paycheck, these codes completely rewrite the fundamental rules of the employer-employee relationship. This is really where we get into that core tension between giving businesses more flexibility and making sure workers have real security. Now, this right here is one of the most hotly debated changes. It used to be that any industrial company with over 100 workers needed government approval for layoffs. That threshold has now been raised to 300. The idea is that this gives mid-sized companies more flexibility to scale up or down based on market demand, which could encourage them to hire more freely. But of course, critics are worried it could make jobs less secure for a lot of people. The codes also formally recognize something called fixed-term employment, and this is a huge shift. It lets companies hire people directly for specific projects, pulling them out of the often exploitative contract labor system. But here's the crucial part. These employees have to get the exact same pay and benefits as permanent staff doing similar work. Plus, and this is great, they're eligible for a gratuity payment after just 1 year instead of the old 5. You know, maybe the most forward-looking part of this whole reform is how it tries to bring India's massive and still growing gig economy into the social security system for the very first time. This is honestly groundbreaking. For the first time ever, Indian law now officially defines and recognizes gig workers and platform workers. It might seem like a small thing, just a definition, but it's the critical first step in creating a real safety net for millions of people who are basically invisible to the legal system before. So the big question is, how do you pay for this new safety net? Well, they've come up with a completely new model. The platforms themselves, the aggregators like food delivery or ride-sharing apps, will have to contribute between 1% and 2% of their annual turnover, not their profit, into a government-run social security fund for these workers. A huge goal of these reforms is just to make it easier to do business in India. And a big part of that is cutting down on corruption by completely overhauling the old compliance and inspection system. The new mantra is all about simplicity. So instead of dealing with multiple registrations, licenses, dozens of separate reports, businesses will now use a single online portal for one registration, one license, and one single unified annual return. And this represents a really huge philosophical shift. The old system, people called it the Inspector Raj, was notorious for harassment and just policing everything. The new codes actually rebrand inspectors as inspector cum facilitators. Their job now is to guide and advise, not just punish. Plus, inspections are supposed to be randomized and web-based to make everything more transparent. So while the big idea is to simplify things for businesses, there's one new number that's creating a major operational challenge for them all across the country. 2 days. That's the new legally mandated deadline for companies to settle up everything an employee is owed when they leave. This puts immense pressure on HR departments. They used to take 30, even 45 days to process everything from unused leave to getting company assets back. Now, it's just 2 days. So when you step back and look at the big picture, this whole reboot creates a new set of trade-offs for everyone. Employers get more flexibility, but they also face higher costs for benefits. Gig workers, for the first time, get a foot in the door for Social Security. And salaried employees, well, they see better retirement savings, but that might come at the cost of lower monthly pay and even some stricter rules on strikes. And that really brings us to the ultimate question, doesn't it? The goal here is to perfectly balance the ease of doing business with worker welfare, to bring a massive informal economy into the formal one, and to build a modern labor market for the 21st century. The new architecture is in place. But whether it truly creates that fairer, more efficient future, well, that's the billion-worker question that India will be answering for years to come.